So Comcast is having, Xfinity Comcast is having Watch-a-thon week this week. They had it last year. I took advantage of it. I don't know if movies were available last year. If they were, I didn't know it, and I didn't watch any movies. But in any case, this year they have full network availability for some premium channels like HBO, Starz, Cinemax. Not Showtime. For some reason, Showtime's only half of Xfinity Week. The 19th through the 22nd instead of the 16th through the 22nd. The other ones are available full. Some people say they're having problems getting on it, but I tried one and it said free to me, so I believe that I have availability to watch movies. Collateral Beauty was Will Smith, starring Will Smith. That's the movie I've wanted to see for a while and didn't know how I'd be able to see it. I didn't want to buy it. I didn't want to rent it, I didn't want to buy it. So I was going to wait until someday. Maybe it came out on something else or something, I don't know. Snatched with Amy Schumer, Goldie Hawn looks hysterical. I didn't see a lot that I wanted to see. I set them up A to Z, and I'll probably write down which ones. 50 Shades Darker, the unrated version. I saw 50 Shades Darker in the movie theater. The only one I didn't see was the most recent one. It's the first one I didn't see in the theaters. Anyway. In here. I think he's sleeping. Before you know it, he's peeing in the bed. No. Elsewhere. No. You won't have it up here. I do not want to stay up all night like I stayed up all night last night. Where's Omar? Omar, where are you? Here's the Omar. Here's the Pugalopolis. Pugalopolis. Oh, I know I told you I make mistakes in my videos when I was saying that woman was the first woman to win the women's marathon. That was, she was the first United States woman in 30 some odd years, over 32 years to win the women's marathon, Boston Marathon, the women's portion, the women's thing. And that's pretty impressive. She was the first woman to win it, and she wasn't. At one point, she was planning on dropping out. She even stopped at a point to wait for a friend who had to go to the bathroom, and then for some reason, she just, in the end, she changed her mind and decided she wanted to win it or try anyway. She did it. Nobody's really sure why she changed her mind, because at one point she wasn't gonna even do it. She was thinking of dropping out. I'm not sure why she was thinking of dropping out either. And she went on to win it, so that was pretty impressive. This is boiled water for oatmeal, and I put blueberries in it because my blueberries are frozen. So no fun eating blueberries frozen in cereal. But then I threw the blueberries in the water, and then I'm going to save the blueberry juice. See? Waste not, want not. By the way, I could comb my hair. Did Mama comb her hair over there? Just to clarify something important. 3 months ago, give or take, or close to it nearly, to get, whatever, I actually was in the position where I had no choice, but I had to trick my mom. I got my mom the help she needed, but I had to trick her. I didn't technically trick her. You have to understand that unless I absolutely have to, like I feel like she's a danger to herself and others and this, that, or whatever, I'm not going to call the cops on her, 911, and I'm not going to call the cops on her, especially if she's here and this isn't even where she lives, We already know that on more than one occasion, including when she was living with her sister even, that the cops did not, they chose to not take her away, okay? She's sometimes she's able to trick the cops sometimes. They're not just going to forcibly remove people from their homes unless they really feel like it's necessary. Alright? That's number one. And number two, that she absolutely hates me, especially if I call the cops on her and then they don't take her away. I mean, to her, that's like, she never thinks anything's wrong, of course. So how did I trick her? Because she was feeling like there's something medical wrong with her feet. So I said, it's up to you. I can call medical 911 if you want me to. Right? It's totally up to you, Mom. I knew sooner or later we were going to be sooner or later she was going to wind up hospitalized. It was inevitable. She wasn't getting any better. She was getting worse, okay? Unfortunately. But again, I believe what happens is she gets upset about something. Maybe she forgets to take her meds, or she doesn't take her meds, or doesn't sleep, then forces herself to stay with coffee, and then it fucks with her brain, and then it's easier for her to intentionally not take her meds. I don't really know. All I know is this time around, she snapped out of it. Because I was fearing. And the thing is, this last time, that over 3 months ago, whatever, there were 3 months that I had to trick her. Okay? Again, I didn't have to trick her. I was desperate to get her help. But, you know what I mean? What am I supposed to do? I'm in a rock and a hard place. I'm not going to call the fucking cops on her. Alright? I will definitely make her social worker aware of what's going on. I'm not calling the cops on her. The professionals in her life can do that. And again, especially when she doesn't even live here. And her friend was here too. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to do that, period. But it turned out that she was scared and she voluntarily went. I knew, even though she didn't, that they were going to hospitalize her. And then what happens? She winds up in the same hospital she'd been in twice before. She gets put on a high starting dosage of Thorazine and lands in the emergency a day or two later. Stays in the emergency, gets medically cleared 4 days later, goes back into that hospital, and less than 8 hours later is back in the emergency. And I'm like, you gotta fucking be kidding me. I said to them, and then they agreed with me, thank God, because I knew she's safe in your hospital. She's not safe there. If, she's fine in your hospital, and then you send her back there, and she's immediately back in the emergency. And they agreed. They're like, you're right. We can't keep sending her back to this mental hospital. Okay. But I just want to point out, last time I knew that she needed to be hospitalized, and it was sad and it was heartbreaking, and it was, this time around I didn't know what was going to happen, but there were loads of professionals, there was all different, aware, and it was out of, it was out of my hands, which is how it should be, how I want it to be, They ultimately decided that she didn't need to be hospitalized, okay? They made that decision. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but she's definitely sleeping. She's taking her meds. She was sleeping while she stayed here, It's very important that she gets enough sleep. It's also, like I said, important that she gets enough, ingests into her body enough fluids to combat the toxic side effects of the medications. I'm not my aunt. I won't just at the mere hint of something, call the fucking police on my mother. But what I did start doing, also just merely to cover my own ass, okay? I have to cover my own ass because you just don't know what people are going to think, what's going to happen. I've kept her, the professionals in her life, I've kept in just total aware of everything going on. I've kept them totally aware of what's happening, you know. Was I grateful she didn't get hospitalized again? Of course I was. That's why, like I said, I begged. I was totally honest, but I explained the situation. She's been through the ringer, not just physically. I mean, not just physically and mentally been through the ringer. She hasn't had a chance to even adjust to this new medication regimen. She hasn't seen any type of psychiatrist, therapist in months, okay? She had the surgery. I mean, give her a fucking break, please. I know she's not acting completely normal. Everybody's aware of it. They're aware, the pertinent people in her life, the professionals are aware of what's going on, and they are going to make sure she, you know, they are going to make that decision. They're going to assess the situation. Please just give her the chance. Okay? I did beg. And I also said what happened last time. The same thing. It doesn't help her going into these hospitals. This is not some secret. The professionals in her life are aware of what's happening, okay? They are going to assess the situation. Just give her a friggin' chance. They can't just do it instantly. It has to be arranged. It has to be whatever, okay? She's here recuperating from the damn surgery, you know? Plus, I told you I was furious. Just so upset because I saw her being absolutely fine and then changing just in an instant the day she got her fucking shot. I mean, you know, it's like, what the fuck? I even said to her, like, why are you acting like this? You were being so good. What's going on? I just couldn't even believe it. So I'm praying to whatever God I don't believe in that it doesn't happen again. Okay? I told you I was essentially, by her primary care physician, I was negated. My concerns were completely negated. He didn't even bother calling me himself. He had his assistants do it. Dr. So-and-so doesn't think it can be the shot because it's a slow, I don't care. He wasn't here. He didn't witness what I witnessed firsthand. My own fucking, I know what I saw. I know what happened. He doesn't live with her. I don't care. These medications are not an exact science. Whatever it means to be a slow-release shot, I know what I witnessed. I don't fucking care what anybody says to me. I know what I witnessed. It was from one day to the next. She changed. She changed, and it was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. The way she had been, and then she just changed like that, and it happened immediately. Just, you know, that night it happened, and I noticed it, and I was in shock because she hadn't been behaving that way. And I know it says shot, and I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if it's a fucking slow release. I don't care, all right? Slow release or not, it's hardly the only medication she's on. Get it? And now she'll be getting that shot on this new medication regimen that also includes the Ativan. Right? Because she had to go back on the Ativan because when she got that shot, she wasn't behaving right, and she suddenly wasn't sleeping. She went from sleeping a lot of hours to not sleeping at all. She went from being kind and considerate and all that. And it happened in transformation was like that. But I'm going to be negated by the primary care physician, you know, like he's some expert on these chemicals or whatnot. That's what gets me. But again, they don't like someone like me because I question shit that they don't want questioned, as Joe would sarcastically put it. Oh, by the way, what I was trying to come up earlier, that person, or anybody really, trying to say, well, because I see it all the time out in comments, under articles or stuff, like, or, you know, people like, who are you to say anything? You can't do what that person can do. So what? I don't care. You can have absolutely no talent in a certain area whatsoever, but you are still able, as a human being, to determine Yeah, and you know, it could be your opinion, or it could be a lot of people's opinions that say in a singing competition that this person is better than this person. They're not all equal, you know? But jerks use fallacious arguments like, you know, who are you to say that? You couldn't, he made it to the top 24, you couldn't do that, so what? I admittedly couldn't do it. That doesn't change the fact that I have the right to say that I think the judges got it, any of us, we have the right to say I think the judges got it wrong with certain contestants if it's a singing competition, that they are not as strong as singers. I mean, come on. It's just like, that's such a fallacious argument. It's just like, oh. Like I said, I'm not getting into an argument with that person either. If that person writes me back, I'm not even going to read it. I'm just going to delete it without reading it. Because I'm not, he or she had his or her say, I had my response, and that's it. Right? I disagree. So anybody rational is going to agree with me that I'm not some monster because I point out that even the judges said you're not the best singer we have, but yet you put him through over much in place of much better singers. So, you know, I have a right to recognize that and say that that's, you know, no, who am I to crush an 18-year-old's dreams? Well, guess what? It's highly unlikely that particular 18-year-old is going to become the next American Idol. But stranger things have happened in this life, that's for sure. But you know what I mean? I'm crushing his dreams because I say what even the judges said, he's not the best singer. But I went too far. I had the nerve to say the judges shouldn't have put him through over much stronger singers who they, you know, I'm a horrible human being. Oh my God. What a fallacious argument. That's the word I was trying to come up with earlier, fallacious. I was thinking fallacy and I forgot. You can use fallacious. It's a fallacious argument. It's like, what the fuck? I see it used all the time too. People get pissed if you say anything negative about any like star or you know, it's like they get so pissed. But who are you to say that? You're not that. You couldn't do what they could. No shit. That doesn't mean I or anybody else can't have an opinion just because we're not them and we can't whatever. Or you can be, I don't have to think, I might think you're a fantastic comedian and actress and writer and the whole 9 yards, but I don't have to also think you're a raving beauty, but, I mean, I isn't anybody, but people will rip you apart, you know? It's like, what the fuck? It all revolves around this political correct bullshit. You know what I mean? I never understand composite pictures. Like when you see them on films and movies, and now the Stormy Daniels. I couldn't describe anybody. I can't. Composite artists where they sketch what someone says is a perpetrator, like of a crime or something. You know what I mean? It's like, and they apparently a lot of times come up with some decent pictures. So now Stormy Daniels, I told you the way she described it, I believe that she was threatened, that she was so detailed where she said when she was coming to gym class or something, this guy came up to her and said, you know, that's a nice looking little girl you have there, be ashamed if something happened to her mommy, drop the Trump thing. This was, you know, way back before Trump became president or whatnot. You know what I mean? And they have that sketch, they call it a composite sketch, I believe, and I think to myself, I wouldn't be able to describe somebody where an artist can come up with something, but they do those all the time, and apparently they come up with pretty decent, you know, is a fallacious argument when you say, I'm not saying that Garrett or Johnny or whomever in the past years suck. I'm saying take it in context that compared to just this small group of the 24, I 100% believe, and what my beliefs were echoed by the judges themselves, that these particular singers, certain ones, are not as strong as singers. I also will go on to say, as someone wrote under a thing about Garrett, that I don't believe he's going to become the next American Idol. He's not even remotely as good as some of the other in the top 14. Okay. I have a right to say that. You're going to say, oh, you're toxic and you're this. I can't believe you'd crush an 18-year-old's dreams, and how could anybody be attracted to the likes of you? You're sick. You're ripping me apart over my critique of people who choose to be on this singing competition when I say that certain singers are better than others, and I think the judges get it wrong sometimes. For whatever reason, and that leads me to believe that it's rigged in certain ways, you know. I'm using my deductive reasoning, and that's the conclusion I'm reaching. So they make me a horrible human being who's out to crush this poor 18-year-old's dreams. And like, I went even farther. I'm like, first of all, he's not going to fucking care what I say, but he needs to, if he thinks he's going to be the next American Idol or whatever, he'd have to deal, or even just being in that business at all, he's going to have to deal with shit like that, you know? And much worse. Get such a kick out of people like that. They just think you should not you can't say anything negative about anybody, even in terms of when they're putting themselves out there to be judged, you know? That's what gets me. Who are you? That's what they said to me. Who are you to say that? He said that. Who you're crushing? What kind of person are you? You couldn't do what he did. He made it to the top. Oh my God. He put himself out there to be judged on this singing competition. And by the world, you motherfucker. And you're going to rip me apart for judging him? In context, which means judging him in comparison to the other contestants who I feel some of them were much stronger singers and should have been put through in his place and not him. I mean, and I'm not just referring to him. I'm referring to what's happened sometimes in past years when I used to watch it many years ago, you know. This is hardly the first time that I or others thought the judges got it wrong. But I've seen in past years a long time ago where I thought the audience got it wrong, you know? But if the audience is going to do what the audience does, you know? It's just like anything. A lot of times people might get through by audience vote simply because the ones who could have put their favorites through don't bother to vote, you know? I don't believe I voted sometimes, but a lot of times I didn't. A lot of times I couldn't get through, too. And some years I just didn't care about voting. But you know what I mean? It's like, this person ripping me apart for having the nerve to criticize a contestant who I don't believe is as strong of a singer and I don't believe should have gone through to the top 14 because he, you know, what about the crushed dreams of the ones who know damn well they're much better singers than him? They were never even, some of them weren't even criticized ever by the judge, and yet somebody who was criticized more than once got through. Well, the other ones didn't. They have crushed dreams too, asshole, you know. But I get a kick out of someone ripping me apart like that over some stuff. That's like, you're taking that show way too seriously. And you're forgetting that there can only be one American Idol, you know? So, let's see how far the underdogs advance. It's up to the audience now, so we'll see. Don't they the first, I remember past years, do they like get rid of 4 all at once, audience vote? In past years they have, which means they cut the 14 right down to 10, and then it goes 10 weeks, I guess, something like that. 10 weeks, something, you know, just 1 a week. But I also remember people being saved and stuff. There's different things, but, you know, they might have changed it too. They like to shake things up sometimes. Like I said, if they really wanted to shake things up, they would make it the most fair competition imaginable. Which means it doesn't matter if it ends up being all women, all men, you're only going to pick the best singers, period. Okay? It doesn't matter what the genres of them are or their different styles, you're just going to pick the best singers. That would be American Idol shaking things up. And like I said, the fair thing is you have the top 24 and you listen to them all and then you pick the top 14, not separating them into groups that aren't random probably, that are carefully hand selected by the producers, I would imagine. The first group of 12, the second, it's rigged. Okay? Not, I mean, to an extent it is. Don't act like I'm a horrible human being for judging these people who have put themselves in the position to be judged. You know, it's like, that's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, Omalu. That just takes the cake. That is why I bothered responding, because I'm just floored by that, you know. I have the nerve to criticize this poor 18-year-old and crush down his dreams when he chose to be on this singing competition. I have the nerve to compare him to the other singers, particularly the other singers who and I'm sure tons of other people thought were much better singers than him and should have advanced instead of him. Oh my God, shoot me. Oh God. I love all these jars. Between my new plastic things I haven't opened yet and all my jars to store stuff in, I don't have to use plastic at all. I've officially decided to no longer use plastic, store any of my foods or anything in plastic. No more plastic containers. Give them all to my mama. I've already given most of them to her. I have stragglers, of course, because I still have stuff in the freezer, but I've given most of my plastic stuff to my mom. And it just come in handy because she doesn't have any containers, and I make her meals and put them in the freezer. Okay? That's my weekly thing for her. Told you. It makes me healthy, and I get to know that she's eating my healthy meals I make, you know what I mean? So it works out good. She gets to eat stuff she likes, you know, and I get to know she's eating a hell of a lot healthier than she would otherwise be eating. Know what I mean, jelly bean? Fresh bowl of water. Although I don't want him to drink it tonight. Pretty soon we'll start walking again every day, Holmes. Not our days of walking together for like 50 minutes or 45 minutes are over with, but we're definitely gonna do the 20 20 to 25 minutes a day again, if it's nice out. Weather permitting, if it's not miserable out. He eats really healthy, but it's important for him to get exercise too. That will at least ensure that I'm getting that small amount of exercise a day. I make sure I walk him every day for, you know, the little route that we do that takes about 20 to 25 minutes depending. Hopefully I will do my own extra walking at some point. So that guy who made that request with the itchy gold flat thing, he was pleased with my little attempt. I did it outside, and I had wanted it, so I'll probably try again, because I wanted the thing to be where I didn't know it was going to show so much of my body outside. It wasn't supposed to. It was way down the camera, and it was flat, horizontal, and it still showed my entire body. I didn't expect that. I wanted it to have the thing where it's just showing the bottom, which is how he had originally wanted it, and then I switch over and show my whole body. But practice makes perfect. I can try to do it again a little differently. I didn't know that that was going to show my whole body outside. That wasn't the plan. The plan was to have a comparison where just showing that perspective and then showing the full one in here. So that's fucked up, that airline. That hasn't happened in nearly 10 years, a deadly thing. Where that's fucked up. I told my mom about that. It's like, wow. And apparently, within the last 2 years, that same airline, Southwest, had this where the engine, but this time there was a casualty on board. The engine exploded and went through the window, and the woman died, but she also almost got sucked right out of the plane. People were injured, but there was a casualty, and that hasn't happened. There hasn't been a casualty midair like that in nearly 10 years, they said on World News Tonight. And the thing is, that kind of shit shouldn't be happening. And apparently they're still investigating the Southwest one that was from a couple years ago. 2016 or something, and the same thing where they don't know why it's happening. They don't know if it's a maintenance issue with this airline. They don't know, but people should start being scared to fly Southwest if their engines are going to be exploding, and this time like there was a death. That's bad. And that guy that was gunned down and killed in his grandmother's backyard, they're asking the questions that I was asking and others were asking right away. First of all, why did those cops all turn off their body cams? Why did they turn off their body cameras? What's the point of having body cams if they're allowed to mute them if they want to? So now around there, they said they're going to have a new policy where if you're a cop and you're going to mute there, that's Sacramento, I think, I don't know, but anyway, if you're going to mute it, you have to give your reason why. We know damn well why they muted it. They didn't want the world to know what they were saying or whatnot. And why did they wait? You know, they gunned him down, whether or not that was justified, but whatever. But they, you know, cops get away with that. They have to split-second decisions all the time. If they think something's a gun, even if it's not, you're kind of doomed. Put it bluntly. A lot of times you're doomed. But why did I was asking that immediately. Why were they allowed to mute their body cameras? Why even have them if cops are allowed to just mute them on a whim? And number two, why did they wait all that time to administer CPR? Because I believe they were saying that right when this first happened, that they didn't give CPR. Like, why didn't they do that? I've heard that in other cases. Where cops just sit there while someone's dying, or they don't even administer CPR. They wait. Why do they do that? See, those things aren't right. In the end, even if the cops are found justified because they believed the guy had a gun, they still have to answer to why they muted their body cameras and why the common sense dictates they muted them because they didn't want the world to know what they were saying. They didn't want anyone to know. They didn't want the chief. They didn't want anyone to know. So that's not right. Where they were allowed to do that. That is not right. And they didn't administer CPR for 7 minutes. So that's fucked up. That is fucked up. Even if that guy was the one who was breaking into cars or whatever, okay, he still, you know, if you shot him and you don't just sit there and let him be, you don't know that he dies right away, you know, you don't know that you couldn't save his life if you administer CPR. There's just no excuse for any of that shit. There is not. These are all the things that were on his edition. Another thing, these people took this small airline to Mexico, and there's some kind of problem with the airline, and they're told they went for spring break, and they're told you can't have any, we can't fly you back until May. That's fucked up. And then after, I guess they did reimburse them for their fare. They said you're going to have to find another airline to get back. And then they're like, well, in hindsight, we probably should have sent a rescue plane. Duh, you think? That's certainly not good. But Inside Edition, the expert was saying, the expert on these plane things or whatever, you take your chances when you can have a good experience or bad experience when you take these small, you know, you're taking your chances. And in this instance, something was fucked up where they don't have enough planes or whatever, and a whole bunch of flights were canceled, and they're telling these people, you have to stay here stranded in Mexico until May. Oh my God, it's so fucked up. All this shit is like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious. I created this video just to do it while I empty the dishwasher. I want to go try watching one of those movies. It's already in the middle of watch-a-thon. It started yesterday, so let's see if it works for me. I haven't tried. I tried with Showtime, but I told you Showtime is, I'm hoping that it works the 19th to 22nd, which is it said, for some odd reason, Showtime isn't given, you're not given full access to Showtime for the entire watch-a-thon, but other ones you are. I have no idea why that is. If I do get it, though, I want to watch those episodes of SMELF. I did only watch that first one. It must have been an hour long, so it was more happened than I realized, I guess. Made me want to find out what happens with her. Plus, it's just like forbidden fruit, you know. Normally I can't watch this show, so if I have an opportunity to watch it, I might do just that. Although I don't know how many episodes there are by now. Maybe there aren't that many, I don't know. I'm talking about time-wise. There are definitely some movies on that I want to see. I gotta write them down. Oh, Zookeeper's Wife. That's on one of them. That's available to me for this week only. I like movies like that. That's something I would have probably wanted to see in the theater, so I'm going to take advantage of this little watch-a-thon week as much as I can. If that's the end, that's all we'll see of that other Becky. The original Becky's going to be the fixture on the show, and that other Becky was just for that storyline with the surrogate that fell through. I wonder if the other one will be back at all. I don't see why she would be. There'd be no reason. She's just back very briefly. This first couple episodes or something, not very long. There's another show as well as American Idol that I'm only watching because my mom, we watched it together. If she doesn't stay awake to watch it in her own place, she can watch it here because I have it taped, you know. I also have on demand. She has on demand, she doesn't know how to use it, but I didn't see that she had it, which doesn't make sense. I thought she had it. We had it here. I don't know. Oh. Brief little flashing of my feet. Just to be cute. At the very end of this video. You won't even know unless you actually watch the video. See? Thing. But if I show my feet, then I can put it in the Bigfoot playlist. And then my diehards will watch the whole video, even if on warp speed or something, just to get to where I show my feet, because they know I'm not going to put anything in the playlist unless I actually unless I come through, unless I actually show my feet. I'm not going to say I showed my feet if I didn't. I mean, anyway. Alright, that's it. Snatched to be funny. Looks funny.